MattyAds is back online. But today is day 29, not quite at that full month yet. Yesterday, we focused on backlinks. The basics of them that we talked about yesterday were backlinks connect basically two websites together when somebody links your website in their article or on their website. And Google determines how valuable that is, right? Depending on how credible or authoritative the websites are. All right, so here's a good article. It's a Webmaster guidelines. Let's just make sure we caveat some of this stuff before we go any further, especially as we get into the advanced link building. So these are guidelines from Google for webmasters. These are official Google guidelines and recommendations. The one we wanted to look at here is link schemes warnings. So just as a call out here, any links intended to manipulate PageRank or sites ranking in Google search may be considered part of a link scheme. This includes any behavior that manipulates links to your site or outgoing links from your site. So these are negative things that can impact a site ranking. Buying or selling links, so any exchange of money for links or posts that contain links. Excessive link exchanges, link to me and I'll link to you. Large-scale article marketing or guest posting campaigns that target those exact anchor text keywords. Automated programs or services to create your links, that's a no-no. There are some out there that will create tens of thousands of links for you, and they are all crap. So don't bother with that. Or if you require a link in any of your terms of service to use a product. Just the last call out here is spamming forums. Doesn't work anymore. Now, if it's natural, right? If you're just sharing some good content, you should do it. But I wouldn't spend your resources. And that's the most important thing you should be thinking about here is your time, your money. Don't go out and do a forum spamming campaign. But wanted to make sure everybody was aware of this. I would go ahead and read through other Webmaster guidelines. I will say that a lot of the websites that you see ranking at the top of Google do link building. So how should we be thinking about it? Well, the first thing I wanted to look at was, this is Arefs, right? We use Arefs as a keyword research tool. And Arefs has a lot of their own terminology and metrics that they track. And so depending on the tool that you will use when you do your competitor analysis, I would go in and read through all of the metrics and what they mean and what you should be looking for. So you just basically enter the domain and you can click the check backlinks. Then they're going to show you total number of backlinks. So this number, and they have 39,000 unique referring domains. So they have a couple details here at the bottom. So they have the referring page. So that's the page that links to the target, or the article that basically is going to link to your website. Then they're going to have what's called DR, or domain rating, and that is their rating about how strong and competitive the domain is. So the higher your number, the easier it is for you to rank for new keywords. UR, which is the strength of the linking web page. The domain is for the whole domain. Moz.com. UR is for this specific page, moz.com/search ranking factors. Traffic, this is just an assumed amount of traffic that is coming through from the linked page. And then they show you over here the anchor text and the backlink. And then you can see either your or your competitor's top 5 frequently used anchors. And then this is just a report that you can look at to see the top 5 linked pages for your website or your competitor. So this is good to see where your competitor is getting all their, or the majority of their dofollow backlinks. So we're going to transition back to best practices or best ways to get backlinks. All right, so it's called the moving man method. Here's their process. They say first you find web pages, resources, or businesses that are outdated, rebranded, or recently changed names. Then you find sites that are still linking to those outdated resources. And then you email those webmasters to let them know that their website is linking to a resource or a business that is out of date. So here is a real example. So there used to be a website for an SEO company, and there were many pages on their website that either no longer exist or no longer applied. So he went out and found one of their infographics about SEO wasn't working anymore. And he had his own SEO published infographic. So he went to Arefs and he pulled up all the links for that page. And then all he did was emailed every company that was linking to it. So he found an outdated, defunct company He found a resource that they had created to be shareable. And then he went to those companies and said, hey, you guys are linking to this outdated infographic. Here's another one that you could use. And then he also gives you the script that he uses, which is nice. This puts away all the heavy lifting. Copy this, change it around to fit your business or whatever you're sending an email about. I mean, that's super easy. He just lays it out, right? What was he doing? Gives him a compliment, and then he talks about the problem, gives a little bit more context about why it's a problem, where the problem is, and then the solution. And then he's out like a thief in the night. He's gone. But it's a lot of heavy lifting for just a couple of backlinks. So this type of strategy makes more sense for you just starting out your business. All right, here is another similar strategy, and I would say a more widely known strategy. This one is just called broken link building. So with broken link building, you are looking for pages that return a 404 error. A 404 error message is a HTTP status code indicating the server could not find the requested website. In other words, your web browser can connect with the server, but the specific page you're trying to access cannot be reached. So why would you want to find dead pages? It's because it's a bad user experience for anybody who gets linked to a dead page. So here is his strategy on how you can find some of these, by the way. So if you go to Google and you use your industry, mine would probably be GIFs plus resource page, or GIFs plus resources, or GIFs plus recommended sites. And then you'll find pages like this. This almost feels like a link roundup, by the way, but it's more just like a resource page. It probably just lives forever. It's not like a weekly or monthly roundup. And he says you could email those folks and beg for a link on their resource page, but that doesn't work very well generally. Instead, you can install a nifty Chrome extension called Check My Links, and it will find broken links on the page. This is what the Chrome extension looks like. It looks like it highlights in red the dead link. And then here's his email. I was browsing your resource page today, and among the great list of resources were some broken links. Flattery still works. Here's a few of them. Oh, and I have thegiftyak.com. We regularly post content related to whatever this is. If you think so, feel free to post this as a resource. So I guess it's a strategy where you don't even need to be a replacement for that specific item, because here's the value you're bringing. You're helping them clear away the cobwebs of some dead links. And then you can just say, oh, by the way, this is the content we build. If it's valuable for your users, feel free to share it. So you're giving something, and it doesn't feel like you're just taking. The next one is, this one is guest posting. And he says, when you're first starting out, guest posting is probably the best way to get links on your site. And he said when he first started Backlink, he wrote over 50 guest posts and interviews in 12 months. You can kind of see what they say. I'll read it. This website is Cognitive SEO, and it's the 7 link building techniques that might still work in 2013. And then the article starts and says, this is a guest post by Brian Dean from Backlink, an SEO blog that helps people build powerful backlinks through content marketing and good old-fashioned email outreach. If you've seen an opening like that to an article that you've read, that's guest posting. And there's a clear trade-off. Everybody's winning in that situation, because what's happening is Cognitive SEO has a user base that is coming to their site for information or for research, and they can write their own articles, but they might also run out of ideas, or they might not have the expertise in a certain area. And so what they can do is they can bring in an outside expert, somebody that's going to add value to their users. And then Brian Dean steps in, writes a guest post, gives those users what they're looking for. Cognitive SEO wins because their users get some more information. And then Brian Dean wins because he gets a backlink back to his website, and he gets to be in front of Cognitive SEO's audience. And he says all of those backlinks gave his organic traffic a boost. He was also very strategic about this, right? He wrote guest posts for quality sites in his niche. So for me, as a gifting website, I could theoretically guest post on a deal website, right? That would make sense because some gifts might have better deals than other gifts. And quality is probably the most important factor here. I mean, I'm sure he's downplaying this, but he is a very big fixture in this industry and has been for a very long time. So the quality is there. He recommends that you find someone in your industry. So think about your industry. See if you can find somebody who's doing a lot of that guest posting. He says, go to one of their published guest posts and grab the headshot they use in their author bio. Pop that URL of the screenshot, you can just right click it these days and search Google for image, right? And you'll get a list of places that publish guest posts on. And then you can reach out to those same blogs and pitch yourself. All right, infographics and other visual assets. So this ties back to the first method, which is creating shareable, relevant, high quality content. It is a little worn out these days, I will say that. I mean, I still think you see a lot of these pieces of content pop up in a lot of the articles you read, but I also think he's on to a point where it's like, this shouldn't be your main strategy. This is still part of an effective link building strategy. So this is saying, so you'll get on average about 3 referring domains for a why post. You'll get about 3 for a what post, and you'll get about 2.5 for an infographic. I'm building list posts. Those aren't, at least in this data set, the best for generating backlinks. He says there is a strategy he uses specifically for guest posts and infographics. So here's another strategy: submit testimonials. Companies big and small love to show off customer testimonials. And using a product or service that you love, or at least like, consider sending them a testimonial to show that you're a real person, and they'll often add a link to your website. So in this case, so I'm guessing this is a email marketing company. And then Shane and Jacqueline had a story about how they used email marketing, probably this product, to generate $140,000 in a month. And then they get this nice little backlink, this little blue flipped lifestyle. So that's their website. All right, blogger reviews. If you have a piece of software, physical product, consulting service, or anything of value that you sell, you can easily turn that into dozens of high quality backlinks. Well, how do you do that? So you can offer your product to bloggers for free. Now, what did we see in the Google Webmaster rules? Technically, this is a no-no. I would say a lot of people, a lot of companies are doing this. So tread carefully. Regardless, here's the strategy. You can find bloggers in your niche that might be interested in what you have to offer. So let's say you sell a product that teaches people how to make their own DIY soaps. You would Google make soap at home, and then you would find a bunch of blogs, news websites, and how-to websites like ehow.com. Filter out those how-to and news sites, and you'll be left with a solid list of bloggers that might be interested in your offer, like this one. And then you reach out to them with an email and you say, hey, site owner, I was searching for this homemade soap recipe and I came across your website. Oh, it's beautiful. Great stuff. You know what's funny, site owner, is I actually launched a guide that teaches people how to make luxury soaps at homes. I usually charge $500, but I'd be more than happy to send it to you on the house. Let me know how that sounds. I guess you didn't come to an agreement that they're going to write an article for money for you, but there you go. You're going to probably end up on their blog or their DIY soap list, whatever it is. And the cost to you is shipping and whatever the product is. He actually qualifies what we were just talking about. He says, you have to be very careful about the language you use for this strategy. Don't offer your product in exchange for a link or a review. Again, these are awesome ideas. Big shout out to Brian Dean and backlinko.com. Appreciate the content here. So link reclamation. What the heck does that mean? Well, apparently it's pretty simple. First, you can find mentions of your companies that don't link to the site. He gives an example of a web page that has an article where they're talking about content length, and it says, according to Backlinko, the average length of a first page result on Google is about 2,000 words. And he says, hey, don't just beg and say, man, I really wish they would have linked to me. A friendly reminder is enough to get most people to log into WordPress and add your link. Use a tool like BuzzSumo or Mention.com to find mentions of your brand online. When you do, you'll get a heads up whenever somebody writes about you. Check to see whether or not that person that mentioned you also linked back to the site, either your homepage or an internal page. An internal page would be like our category page of gift ideas. If they link to your site, you're all set. Otherwise, send them a friendly email. Hey, site owner, I just wanted to reach out and say thanks for mentioning whatever your brand is in the excellent article yesterday. We really appreciate it. I'm reaching out today if you could add a link back to our site. That way people can easily find us while reading your article. Either way, thanks for the shout out and keep up the great work. You notice he says this in each of his pieces. It's kind of a diffusing mechanism. You're giving them an out, at least mentally, to be like, do I really want to do this? And if you don't, they don't feel bad about it. But at the same time, you're coming off friendly enough that they probably want to help you out more often than not. HARO. And so what is it? Well, in short, it just means help a reporter out, or HARO, and it's a great way to get high authority backlinks from news sites. So it's very easy to sign up. Just type in HARO and go sign up. And then you get 3 emails per day looking for sources. Effectively, you get an email like this. It says, what is the summary? Basically what the title is going to be, how companies are addressing security risks. What's the category? High tech. Anonymous media outlet. They give a deadline, and then they give some more information. You need to answer these questions. So you respond with your credentials. I am Susie Smith, and I've been a security researcher for the last 10 years. I currently write at my blog, susiesmithsecurity.com. Here are the answers or tips that I would like to share with your readers about these issues that we're facing in an industry because it is a crisis. Here's the link to my website. So you give that reporter a quote, and they hook you up with a backlink. And he says, that's all there is to it. And then finally, the last piece here is about reverse engineering your competitors' backlinks. So his last piece of advice here is stick to content formats that generate links. Infographics are just one of many pieces of content that generate links. And then he has some other data here. So the green is getting new referring domains or backlinks back to your website. The blue is social shares, so Facebook shares, Twitter shares, etc. So a Y post gets more links back to your website versus a list post would get more social shares. But I would say try everything, right? See what works in your industry and try it. The first thing I would start with in terms of building content is what is going to generate you income if this is going to be a business endeavor. If you're thinking long-term, if you're thinking branding for yourself, if you're thinking, hey, I want to be a thought leader, you probably don't need to build content that generates income. But if you're trying to build an affiliate business, you're probably going to be down here somewhere. You're probably going to be at this list post level. Otherwise, you're probably going to be around the how-to post level, and you're going to be using display ads on your website. So try and generate the content to build income and then find the traffic. So I think all of those were very, very good opportunities and ideas. Those would be certainly more advanced. And I don't even think all companies think about it like that. Most companies are in the feeling that if you build it, they will come. I think that's true by and large, especially for small businesses that don't have the resources to do this type of stuff. However, for somebody like me and you trying to build our own business from the ground up, you probably have 0 backlinks. So do I. And so how do we go from 0 to 1? It's a huge jump. And I'm confident between all of the things that we've talked about today and yesterday, there is a method for you to generate backlinks. And I would say the first and foremost is good content. Think about your user, think about what's valuable to them, and invest in that, and you'll probably be off to the races. And then you can supplement with these other ideas as time permits. Anyways, appreciate y'all tuning in for this. Tomorrow, we're going to get into the nitty gritty and we're going to do some competitive research on some of our big competitors. And we're going to see what their backlink profiles looks like based on Arefs. And we're going to try and triangulate how they did that. So we'll talk about more of that tomorrow. Want to thank y'all for tuning in for our discussion today. Appreciate y'all so much. We're getting close to that first month end. We're going to do a recap in a couple of episodes here where we recap everything that we did in the month and what the stats look like. So be sure to check that out and keep thinking about building your own business. I hope some of you out there are doing just that. And every time you tune in, I really do appreciate it. So peace out. Catch y'all tomorrow. Thank you so much.